dear. Hello, everyone. We are politely late.
Hello.
Only because I was spelling very badly in the chat room and made myself giggle. It is jolly cold. I've had to put the heating on. It's bizarre. I was just saying to Nadine last week, I was worrying because I was outside and it was boiling hot, and I thought I don't want to get burnt and then come in and sit in front of a computer. And this week I'm freezing. Bring back the summer. Hello, Julia. Julia, I will email you. I got your email. I've just been super busy, but the answer is yes. She'll know what I mean.
Ooh,
it's
intrigue.
exciting. It's exciting. So, Nadine Searle, how are you?
I'm good, thank you, Lesley. I'm not chilly, actually. I'm fine, but you're right. It has changed. The weather has changed, but that's okay. Seasons, we're in tune with nature. It's all good.
Yeah, I think that's right, isn't it? We need the change of the seasons to remind us to slow down.
Yes,
and
exactly.
Remind us that, there is a reason to regroup. We've had a very busy but strange, odd year.
We certainly have. We certainly have. When I was walking with the dogs today, there was wind. It was chilly. There were leaves coming down, and it just let me connect a little bit with nature, because this is our time for letting go of stuff and everything. So I appreciate it. So yeah, the changes are good, aren't they? So
I did Zumba this morning. We're not going to talk about that.
Sunday Zumba. No, let's not talk about that.
I don't know what I was letting go, but it wasn't leaves.
No, we won't go there.
It was exhausting.
Oh,
right,
bless.
The first thing we're going to do is show everyone your page in the magazine. Yeah. There we go. Look at that.
There I am with the beautiful butterfly.
How
I love
gorgeous is that? I love that picture.
Yes, I love it. It's perfect. Perfect.
And
it's not me. It's not me, by the way, my hands, is it?
Is that not your hands?
No, but I can do that.
Disappointing.
No butterfly.
I've seen so many butterflies this year, actually.
It's been a good year, hasn't it? For butterflies, bees, been beautiful. Dragonflies, lots of dragonflies.
There is Nadine's email, and we're going to have a little look at her website in a moment. And she's on Facebook, and you've got some lovely videos for people to watch here as well. Are you not on Instagram?
No. Small steps, Lesley. Small steps. I'm on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Yeah, but no, I'm not on Instagram.
We need to get you on Instagram, don't we? We'll work on that. Okay, because I can see your wall would look amazing.
Of course.
It would look gorgeous with butterflies and leaves and things.
Yeah, one thing at a time. That's probably my next thing. So
okay.
Yes.
Okay. We won't dwell.
Please don't.
Right. So we're going to have a look at your website, because I know you have just done this, haven't you?
Yes, the time of change and transition, the new website, so brilliant. Yes,
look
I
at
love
that.
the pictures. Yeah, I love that.
And orange is your colour, isn't it?
Orangey, yellowy, gold and glitter really, but tone it down a bit, orange and yellow. The warmth, I love the warmth, and it's the sacral chakra and the solar plexus, our power centre. So
I'm pleased to see that the words transformation through relaxation are now sitting on the horizon.
Not in the water.
Not in the water anymore. We had a little chat about that, didn't we? You asked me some feedback.
Your expert opinion, yeah, we're getting there. Things can always be improved, but we're.
And I said, it looks like the words are submerging
in the water.
In the water, so no, that looks great. And lots of information here about how to connect, to your calmer self, but also to you. So please get in touch with me here. So that's great.
Yay.
And then lots of things that you can read more about, and life work balance coaching, and what have you got up at the top? Services. Let's have a look at that. Let's have a quick look at that. So Calmer Self Method, the business, life work balance, motivational speaking, mindfulness walks. I think that's when I first met you, wasn't it? Mindfulness walks.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
So, as you know, this is all about telling your story. So can you tell us, because we know where you are today, but I know that it's been quite a journey.
Yeah, I'm quite old. been a long one.
Not.
Been a long one, you know.
Can you tell us, start from the very beginning, because as Mary Poppins says, it's a very good place to start.
Okay, are you ready for this, everybody?
What was it like growing up as Nadine?
What was it like being little Nadine? Well, I was very stroppy, I've got to be honest. But no, I was born and bred in London. I came from what I like to call a dramatic family, and by that I don't mean in the arts world. Actually, a bit of rage, tension, drama for everything. So that's how I was brought up. And actually, I loved it. It's what I knew. It's what I loved. So that's what I was like. So I was a stroppy little girl most of the time, bit sulky, bit stroppy. And as a family, we moved around quite a lot. And that made me I turned into quite a people pleaser, because being the new girl in new schools and things like that, I always wanted to feel that everybody, had a need for lots of love and that kind of thing. So I quickly learned how to adapt to how I behaved, what I showed. So I hid myself a little bit and tried to be what I thought people wanted. And looking back, I can see that was a pattern that was in me a lot. Not always a bad thing, but I can see that it didn't serve me that well as I was growing up. But that was the reason that I was doing it. So, as I say, moved around a little bit. I would say a little bit unsettled as a child. And I can see, again, looking back, that some patterns and some habits were forming. I felt the need to protect myself a little bit, as I say, close down a little bit. And it's something that I've worked on quite a lot to be who I am now, so that I'm much more comfortable being a bit more open, showing my vulnerability a bit more, and sharing, like what I'm doing now, sharing my story. Because my real passion, what I really want to do, is share what I've learned and what I've done with my life and how it's been for me, so that I can help others. And I say all the time, I really feel privileged now that I can help people the way that I was helped. So as I say, going back to my youth and everything, when I decided what I wanted to do with my life, I was quite a determined child. At the age of 12, I decided I wanted to be a chef, although everyone told me not to. Don't be a chef, it's hard work, it's a man's world, all that kind of thing. And it was. But I was determined, so I left school at 16, got myself an apprenticeship with the Grosvenor House Hotel in Park Lane. Sounds very, very grand. But it was the start of me going into jobs that were highly stressful. I was following my pattern and I didn't really realise. But I loved it. It was also the start of me realising that what I really liked to do was work and learn at the same time, because I had day release college from that. So it was an apprenticeship that I got, very lucky to get it. And I hadn't really connected at school. I hadn't done really well at school. I didn't like that way of doing things, like being told what to do and being told to be quiet. As you can tell, not very good at being quiet. So
we are kindred spirits, aren't we?
Yeah, I think, in a lot of ways, Lesley, we certainly are. But that all of a sudden, working in a job that I had chosen, it's something I was passionate about, something that I really enjoyed. And then the learning connected with that was completely different for me. And I loved that, and consequently learned quite well. And I've done that ever since with every job, everything. And you'll hear my little story a bit later, how many changes I've had in my life. I have learnt all the time in conjunction with what I'm doing as a job. And I love that. And as I say, I'm still doing it now. Anything that I'm interested in, I want to learn more. And that's the way that I do. I think it'll be like that forever, actually. So as I say, I was a chef, and it was hard work. It was a man's world. I had to toughen up a bit more than I was. But all good stuff, really. I learnt a lot. I learnt how to cook, which is a good skill. But I also learnt some quite bad habits, being in a kitchen full of a lot of men. But I also learnt how to, again, played into my people pleasing. I wanted to actually just make the head chef really happy. It's quite important to do that because they shout a lot. But it was, again, learning how to problem solve, really, as well. I learned quite a lot of skills that weren't about cooking, how to get on with different people, how to work as part of a team, how to work with my initiative as well. So I'm very grateful for that experience. But as I say, I'd put myself into quite a stressful job. It was like 2 performances a day. There were rest times, but I didn't rest. This was, again, a pattern that I was building up for myself. Oh, my earphones falling out. So again, a start of a lovely work, but not a balance, basically. So it was, as well, a very sociable place. I was right in the middle of London. Great, as I say, lots of people I was working with. So my social life was very active. And it was the start, again, of me not looking after me. I was working hard, playing hard, and enjoying every minute of it. So when I'd finished my apprenticeship, I thought I knew everything.
Where were you working? In a hotel or a restaurant?
It was the Grosvenor House Hotel, Park Lane, one of the Trust House Forte ones, biggie.
Oh,
And it was massive. I couldn't. We're 4 floors down, a massive kitchen, about 40 chefs at a time. It was massive. It just blew my mind actually, and I really loved being in that world. But I did learn, as I say, to work hard and play hard and not look after myself, because when there was time to rest, I didn't want to rest. So again, starting that pattern of not looking after myself properly. But as I say, I was young. I thought I could do it all. So as I say, I did 3 years in this apprenticeship, and then I, as I say, thought I knew everything, and I wanted my own business. So I decided to go out and do catering for parties and buffets, all sorts of things like that. Full of confidence, full of like, I know it all. Again, not taking time to rest, not taking time to look after myself properly, just keeping going. Again, to get business.
Did you do that in London then?
Yeah, I was living sort of just on the outskirts of London. Again, I was still moving around quite a lot, but I just went where the work was, really, Lesley.
So you were doing like dinner party catering, right?
Yeah, that kind of thing. A lot of buffets, a lot of parties, that kind of thing. And I'd also decided that I really wanted to learn more about nutrition. And so I was studying that as well. So learning about how, food helps you, how it heals, that kind of thing. And that is still a passion of mine. I still
So you
really
instinctively,
interested.
even though you were like not looking after yourself, you were thinking about, again, how to look after everybody else.
I think that's what it was. I think my way of nurturing, if you like, was, and looking back again, because you can with hindsight, I chose that profession because I wanted to feed everyone. I wanted to care for everyone. It was in me. And I can really see that, it is that kind of, you're right, that kind of, I wanted to look after other people. And my nutrition interest was to actually share with everyone what I was learning. And that, again, is my pattern. I will learn something for me, but actually I just can't wait to tell everyone else about it. And that's what I tend to do. I've learned this, you must know, So nutrition, as I say, is still a big passion of mine, and it always will be, how foods help, and it changes all the time. So it's fascinating. So as I say, running my own business, working really hard. I got involved with doing quite a lot of weddings, catering for weddings, and I had a little change of direction, which I'm quite good at. I decided I wanted to learn how to do makeup and do wedding day makeup. I thought it would be easier than catering for people, doing the makeup. But again, still quite stressful, still quite hard work, working around brides and everybody was quite difficult, but I loved it. Again, it was really, really wonderful. And then from that, I got involved in the world of sales. I just found, because it was the 80s, 90s, and sales is out there. It was the time of the yuppie, there was a lot of business going on. And again, my sort of people pleasing came into play, because sales is all about adapting and actually pleasing the customer. So I was quite good at that. So got involved with various companies selling all sorts of things, actually anything, to be honest. And found I was really good at it, and found I loved, pushing myself really hard, hitting targets, really being quite competitive. I didn't realise how competitive I was, but sales is all about, chasing each other, chasing targets and everything. Yeah. And I loved it. But again, a busy world, a very sociable world, and not much time for relaxation, because I wasn't doing that at all. But I did love it. And then I got to a point where, as I say, I was quite good at it. So a few companies then were asking me to set up sales teams for them, and then build that up and then move on. So there wasn't stability there for me. But again, I was really, really thriving on the being able to do what people asked me to do. Again, it's that kind of looking after other people. If someone says, can you build a team for me? Yes, I can do it. Feel really pleased with myself and move on. So, but as I say, not looking after myself in this way. So my body and my mind, I've got to be honest, by this time was starting to tell me I needed to take some notice, but I didn't listen. My body wasn't really doing what it needed to do. My hormones were all over the place. My sort of system didn't work. I was quite sluggish. I wasn't really able to switch off my brain. I had a busy head all the time. I was always thinking about the next thing. And I wasn't listening. My body was really reacting. I used to get chest infections quite a lot, and my voice would go. And that was really my body saying, shut up and rest.
That is just a classic, isn't it?
Isn't it? Yeah, I couldn't work.
That's just a classic. Laryngitis. Yeah. If you get repeated laryngitis, that's your body telling you to be quiet, sit down and
it
rest.
really was. And it was the only way my body could stop me actually doing what I was doing, because I couldn't do any of these jobs that I was doing if I couldn't speak. So did force me to rest a little bit, but I still wasn't listening, and it was affecting my emotional health, my stability and everything. So that was a bit worrying for me. And as I say, my hormones were all over the place, and that's not a good place to be. So my mood swings and everything, I just thought, I'm normal, I'm a bit highly strung, this is what I do. I was a bit fierce at times, to put it bluntly. But I thought that was quite normal. And as I say, just that whole pattern of, and I'm sure people can relate to this, whether they do it now or in their past, just pushing and pushing and just thinking, I'm invincible, I can do anything. No one can do it better than me. I'm the only person that can do this. So you just keep going, don't you? You just keep going and keep going.
And people tell you, don't they? They go, oh, you're very good at this, you must keep doing this. And I've had that many times in my life. People have said, when I've said I'm leaving or I'm done with this, and they go, well, you can't. Actually I can.
Well, that you can say that now, and I can say that now, but I couldn't say it then, to be honest, Lesley. I really couldn't. I was really lapping up any flattery. I loved it. I say quite needy person, and that people pleasing was there. And if someone told me I was doing a good job, I loved it and I did more. But now I can see that's
they really knew how to push your buttons.
Oh, do you know, I was so gullible, so gullible. I again, looking back, I can see how I was quite used in a way, but it's not a bad thing. I was earning lots of money, I was getting a lot of success, a lot of recognition, as I say, and actually on the surface of it, loving it. But my mind and my body was obviously telling a different story, but I really wasn't listening. But I started to. I thought I'd need to look after myself. I was aware, like I say, with my nutrition interest and everything, I was aware of I need to address this, but I thought I had all the time in the world, like we do. I'll do it one day, put it off, far too busy, that kind of thing. And what I did was I just thought I was interested in meditation. I'd heard the word mindfulness. It took me years to understand what that was, didn't have a clue. But I heard it and I was interested. There was something drawing me to Tai Chi, yoga, Qigong, that kind of thing, the peaceful, calm things. But I really didn't know how to do any of them, and I didn't know how to be that way. But there was an interest, there was a draw. So I started to, as I say, attend these things half-heartedly, got to be honest. Never thought I had the time.
Where were you at this point? Who were you working for at this point?
At that point, I was still doing my sales and working for various people at the time. Then, as I say, going from one company to another, really. But I really did feel that I just knew something had to give. And I thought I started to have counselling. I thought that's the answer. And talking about my problems didn't really help. It seemed to make them worse, actually. But I did start to get into the alternative side of things like reflexology. I did a bit, and about this, NLP, CBT, that kind of thing. So I'd started to look at different ways. And it opened my mind up a little bit to the fact that there are other ways to do things. And I was interested. I still wasn't really looking after me, but I was starting to open my mind, which was a good thing. And I made a decision that I needed to move out of London. I needed to slow down. I really, as I say, didn't know how to do it. And I thought, if I move, that will slow me down. So I moved to St Leonard's, just outside Hastings, which is where I am now. And I was teaching by then. I hadn't said I changed jobs again. I'd started teaching. That was a direct reaction to my hormone problems and the fact that I had infertility problems. And I thought, right, I'll teach young children. That will solve all my problems. Of course, it didn't, but I thought it would. But a change of career. Again, I learned so much, and I really appreciate what I learned about how children work and how things work, and my education through that was massive, which was brilliant, so I'm grateful for that. But I'd moved down to the seaside, which was lovely, slower pace of life. I'd taken a job that was less hours, I thought. It was to start
Teaching,
yeah, I thought we were to go. How naive am I? It was to start with.
For the first day.
Do you think you're right? A couple of days, yeah. So you're absolutely right. How do you know? You know these things. But yes, I found that I got myself into another job that was full of stress, full of, this pressure and everything. And again, I was buying into it and going, I want to make everyone happy. I want to do what needs to be done. So I just was doing too much again, And I got to a point where I really thought, as I say, my alternative lifestyle, if you like, I really wanted to do, and I was getting a bit this conflict of I want to calm down, I want to embrace this slower life. I want to do more yoga, more Tai Chi, Qigong. I want to enjoy it, but how do I fit it all in? And
Did you consciously realise you were every job change, just you repeated the same? Did you consciously realise that?
Not at the time. It's only in recent years that I've looked back and gone, oh my God, what did I do?
That you just repeated the pattern every time.
Such a pattern, isn't it? Yeah. It's so obvious, but no, at the time I had no clue at all. And I got, as I say, with the teaching, I got to a point where the education system was disappointing me, to put it bluntly. And I got into this really sad place. I'd got into a place where I thought, I really don't know how to cope with this. I was in my 40s by then. And I thought, I can't do this. I thought this is my job for life. I've moved, I've solved all my problems, but I hadn't. So I made a big decision to actually leave the teaching profession, which actually broke my heart, I've got to be honest. It really upset me to think I've got to come away from this. And as I say, at a time in my life when I thought, I don't know what to do next. I didn't have a plan, which was really unusual for me and very scary. I've got to be honest. It was scary to leave, but I knew I had to. There was something driving me to go, I've got to get away from this. It was my health. And as I say, my sanity was really in need of a big, big break. And all the things I thought I'd done to help hadn't helped. So it was a big wake up call for me. And as I say, I left, very, very scary time. I had nothing to move forward to, no plans. I didn't know what I was going to do. But again, in hindsight, the best thing I could have done, I needed a break. Without a doubt, I needed a break. I also needed that space to not jump into the next thing, to not have a plan B, not have anything going on. And I went through...
Break the pattern.
Really, I did. And it wasn't... it sounds like it was planned and everything. And again, looking back, maybe so. I like to think someone else was looking after me. There was a bigger thing going on than me. And to give it up, I wasn't very good at that surrender and that trusting the universe. I really wasn't very good at it. But again, looking back, the universe was helping me. Thank heavens. It's what we need. But I did. I went through a period of grief, I think, this leaving a profession, not knowing what I'm going to do, not knowing what I was going to be myself, not having, almost lost my identity. So I went through that period. But again, now I can see how much I needed to do that, just to be with it, be with feeling sad, be with feeling, because I'd spent all my life, I think, not looking at my emotions at all, not dealing with anything. So going through that period, horrible as it was, I'm so, so glad that I went through it. And what happened was my business developed out of that time, quite naturally, quite organically. What happened, the first people that I was helping was my colleagues, my fellow teachers, who said, you've started to learn how to relax, you're doing things differently. I'd started to do Reiki by then. I'd got very interested in Reiki, and I was doing it for myself to start with. Now I do it for my clients, which is wonderful. But again, I was starting to be a little bit selfish, trying to look after myself, which was new to me. I'd never done it before. As I say, I was in my 40s by then. And as I say, really what I needed without realising it was so what I needed. So it was colleagues and mums that were my first, I wouldn't say clients because they didn't pay me, but my first, they were the people asking for my help. And that made me see, and people telling me, this could be what you do. And as I say, my business then, my Calmer Self business, developed quite slowly and quite naturally without me having to force anything. And that was amazing for me, because I'd always pushed so hard. I'd always been impatient. I'd always had a plan. And this was something that was happening, came out of nowhere almost, and just developed in a natural way. And like a breath of fresh air, such a different way of looking at things. So it was really, as I say, a wonderful, I still have to remind myself that life can be that simple. Life can actually happen that way, because my old patterns are still there. My tendency to push forward, my impatience, my needing to control, and that's, to be honest, what it is, I think. But to sit back and actually just go, you can just be quiet for a minute, you can have a bit of a rest and just see what happens, because I do now, I really, really trust that the universe provides, but we need to be listening. We need to have that space, and we need to have some peace. So I have changed my life from being totally chaotic to being a bit calmer. I'm not going to pretend that I'm calm all the time, because I'm not. I sort of don't want to be. I quite like that up and
That
down.
would be normal, would it?
Wouldn't be normal, no, and it's not what I'm striving for anymore. I used to
No.
think all I want to be is happy, but actually I'm not even asking for that anymore. I'm quite happy to be a bit up and down. It's normal for me. I think it's probably normal for a lot of people. I'm not scared anymore of my emotions, which I was terrified of. And I used to suffer big, massive bouts of depression. And although I can still feel that, again, I'm not frightened of actually going with it, because I know I'll come out of it. And that is, it's a blessing for me, and I love that. So I just feel that all of this, everything that I've just described has made me what I am. And has enabled me to learn. And I really, as I say, I study all the time. So everything that helped me, meditation, mindfulness, Reiki, tapping, EFT, some of you are familiar with that. I've learned and studied more so that now I can turn that around and I can help other people. And I always say I help people now the way that I was helped. So it's a whole, that's why I call it the Calm Myself method. It's a whole mixture.
So can you talk us through some of those things in a bit more detail? So start off with Reiki, which is one that I think a lot of people are familiar with, and then go through the reflexology, tapping, etc.
Yes, of course, I'm happy to. Yeah, Reiki is all about energy. It's about the energy that is around us all the time. And I'm big on energy work. Tapping is energy work too. And I know you've chatted about it with other people as well. So it's really about just feeling that energy that we have in the universe and tuning in. And this is where mindfulness comes in too, because it's being aware of what's around us and what we have within us as well. We all have energy, we all have a vibration, and it is around us. So it's tuning in to that energy. And when I actually give Reiki healing, if you want to call it healing or just therapy, to people, it's not me giving it to them, it's me being a channel. So I'm tapping into the universe and it's coming through me to the person that I'm passing it on to. And what that shows me, and when people receive it, the power that everybody has to tap in themselves, because the person themselves, my clients, are actually taking what they need, tuning in themselves. But as I say, it's coming through me as a channel. So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, and we've done this. So you've given me Reiki in person, but you've also given me Reiki through digital means, through the telephone.
Goes through the ether.
It does actually go through the telephone, because as you can imagine, everyone who's watching, sometimes Lesley does get a little bit depleted. And I've had a journey.
We've got to look after Lesley.
Yeah, and I've had a journey similar to you, and we've worked in similar places. In fact,
I know we have.
I know. At one point that we didn't know until afterwards.
I know.
And that, and I think you do get into habit patterns. But I'm like you now, very conscious of my feelings. So it's tuning into how you feel and recognizing them. And so sometimes I call you, don't I? And I say, I think I just need some Reiki. And obviously during lockdown, I was really using a lot of my energy to try and make sure that we were holding everybody in a safe space. And I needed some extra support. And you did that for me through the telephone, and it was amazing.
We did.
I was a little sceptical.
I think you were, weren't you? Going, it's not going to work like this, and actually it does. And I'm so blessed, because it means that I haven't had to stop through lockdown and everything. I can still help people, and and it's, in a lot of ways, it's better for people to actually receive this when they're comfortable in their own home, rather than going to a therapy room.
I did have to lock 2 doors to make sure that the dog didn't come and jump.
You do have to do that. but it's wonderful. And I know if people are familiar with Reiki, quite often they see it as something for healing when people are in pain. And yes, it does help with that. But the way that I use it and the way that I see it is that it just taps in and it deeply relaxes you. And that, in essence, is what we all need. We need to deeply relax, because we live stressed lives. We are permanently on the go. Most of us are. And even if we don't realise it, sometimes we are in a stress state, or we're a bit overwhelmed, or emotions are getting the better of us, and we don't know how to switch off. So Reiki is a blessing, because it will do it for you. And it just really helps. And that, in essence, helps you heal and helps you connect with yourself.
Yeah, we were talking about synesthesia yesterday, about seeing colours. And when I have Reiki, it's very colourful. I see lots of pinks and purples.
Yes,
and
you do, don't you? Yeah.
I do, yeah. And I get
Yeah.
all my senses are really heightened, so I smell lavender, and I get
Yeah.
really all of my senses get very stimulated by Reiki. And I know everybody has a different experience with it. That's
Yes.
just my experience
Yeah.
with it.
But
I find it a bit addictive.
Well, I think it is a little bit, isn't it? I mean, I feel, I mean, as you can probably tell from what I've said, you know, I've got quite an addictive personality, and I'm glad to say that now most of my addictions are doing me good rather than not doing me good, which is a lovely way to be. So it's not a bad thing. But you're right, you know, seeing colours, seeing things, I mean, visions and everything, it's tuning into your own intuition, which we don't give ourselves time to do. We've all got it. We've all got it in there.
Yeah.
So to see colours and get visions, and sometimes people hear words, like you say, heightens your sense of smell. It's a beautiful thing to do, and we can all do it. So Reiki, as I say, is the heart of how I help people. But I also teach mindfulness, and I do a lot of it.
What's mindfulness? When you teach mindfulness, what does that look like?
It's quite interesting because, as I said earlier, it took me years to understand what that was. But it's quite simple in the way that it's just being in tune with what's going on. So you can actually say mindfulness of what's going on around us, like nature, like I said earlier about the leaves falling off the tree. Being mindful of what's going on outside nature is something that I use a lot, you know, as something to connect to and just to remind us what's going on. So connecting with nature, but more importantly, I feel that mindfulness is about listening to yourself. And again, it's something I never did. I never gave myself a moment to listen. And I was scared. I was scared of knowing what my emotions were and what was going on. So that was a reason that I was avoiding things. You know, that classic just pushing everything down until it all comes up to get you, which is exactly what I did a lot. But so mindfulness in essence is actually just taking a moment to stop and listen to yourself is the most important and the most beneficial. But taking any opportunity just to look at the birds feeding, you know, that's a beautiful thing that I love to do every day. Looking at nature, looking at the wind blowing, the waves lapping up and down in the sea, you know, just taking it. It doesn't have to take long. Everything that I teach is quick and simple and easy. But just tuning in. And once you've got it, once you've got the essence of mindfulness, you've got it for life, and it is so beneficial. And as I said, it took me years to get it, but once I got it put right, you can apply it to everything. You know, you can look at something and just focus and just take a moment, be in tune. You know, when you're doing the washing up, people do washing up. I'm quite old fashioned. I do washing up, cleaning your teeth, you know, taking notice of what's going on right here, right now, instead of your mind being in 22 places at once, which is how most of us function. It's definitely how I was doing it. You probably do, Lesley, as well. 20 things going on at once, you know.
I now try to do what you're saying, which is notice what I notice. So I try now very hard to have a moment every day when I just sit with no devices on, with nothing, just even if it's just for 5 minutes, and just listen to the birds, or, you know, just be aware of what's going on. The hum of the house.
That's the thing, listening, isn't it? Taking a moment just to listen. It's amazing what you can hear when you stop and you listen. And I've just been distracted because there's something in the comments there about my drawing and being actful mindfulness.
So Sophie said she does observational drawing. So she's just sitting and drawing what she sees. And is that an act of mindfulness? And I think probably yes. Is
totally. It's a lovely way. This is the thing. Meditation, mindfulness doesn't have to be sitting still and quiet. I love the fact that I adapt to my clients. You know, most people that come to me are very, very busy. They've reached crisis point, and they quite often start off by saying, I need help, but you're not going to make me be quiet for an hour a day. You're not going to make me sit still. And I go, no, that's fine. I'm not going to ask you to. We can do these things by actively doing something, and that suits a lot of people. I do a lot of what I call moving meditation, so the mindfulness walking, like we mentioned earlier, you know, it's meditation, but it's while we're moving, while we're doing something. And I used to do with a Pilates teacher as well, what we called positive power Pilates, which was saying affirmations while you're actually moving. Very, very powerful. It's very good at releasing negative energy. It's very good at getting emotions moved, you know. It's very much in tune with the tapping, the EFT, which we mentioned earlier, because you're actually saying things out loud, but you're actually physically moving as well. So mindfulness meditation can be while you're doing something. It doesn't have to be sitting still and quiet. And it really doesn't have to be emptying your head, because that is really, really hard.
Emptying your head is an almost impossible thing.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
and
that causes stress. When you say empty your mind, I'm now stressed. How am I going to empty my mind?
Exactly.
How do I do that?
Yeah, I again was like that. Meditation, I can't do meditation. I used to give myself such a hard time because I couldn't clear my busy head. Now I know that actually that's not what it's all about. So again, I've learnt, and I can, love the fact that I can pass that on to other people, in different ways. I adapt what I do to the individual, because we're all different and we all understand things and learn things in a different way. So there's lots of ways that we can try mindfulness meditation, lots of ways that we can put these into our day-to-day life, because that's what it's all about. I call it snatching a moment of calm, because it's about noticing when you need it, feeling what you feel, like you say, Lesley, noticing what you notice, noticing when you're getting a bit of stress or a trigger or something, finding out what it is for you personally, and then changing how you react. And it can be quick and simple once you learn how to do it. And it is life-changing. It's totally empowering that you can actually go, right, this is what's happening, this is my pattern. And as you've just heard my story, all of my patterns there, the first step was recognizing them. The second step was actually seeing what I can do to change. Some of them I haven't changed. Some of them I've stuck with, because I want to. But the ones that were doing me harm, I now have the possibility to actually react differently to things and do things in a different way. It's my choice. I'm still in control, but I have that empowerment. I can do what I want to do. And that's what I love to share with other people. Live your life the way you want to live, rather than being caught up in things, which is how we do things a lot of the time.
I was telling you, wasn't I? Just before we came on live, I was, or just before Nadine and I came on at 5, I'd been listening to a TED talk. Yeah. And I would recommend people have a look at this woman. It's a woman called Lisa Feldman Barrett. I think she was in The Guardian today, featured in The Guardian today. And she's been doing lots of research on emotions. And we don't have a centre in our brain for emotions. We have a centre in our brain for memory, but we don't have a centre in our brain for emotions. Emotions are just a set of behaviours based on predictions our brain make on what went on in the past. So that's really empowering, because we know that we can change, because we can show it something different and say, it's okay, that's not embedded in us forever, that every time I see that person it makes me angry, or every time I do that task it makes me angry. You can choose to change it, because it's not being held anywhere. I was like, wow, that is like... That was massive for me.
It is, isn't it? That's a little bit mind-blowing, isn't it? But lovely, because it means
brain cells.
We can change, and that's the lovely thing. I mean, when I was doing my childcare training, I was taught how babies develop their patterns in their brain, how the neural pathways connect, how they build, how they develop. But then actually to connect that with what I'm doing now is the fact that whatever we've got, our pathways that have been forged over patterns and habits and years, we can change them. And again, that blows my mind, because you don't have to be the way that you were. And I thought I did. I didn't know how to change. I didn't know what to do.
And there just habit pathways.
Yeah, exactly. And there's so many different ways that you can change and you can grow and you can do things. As I say, the important thing for me is reacting in a different way, choosing how you react rather than just reacting without thinking is empowering, and it's wonderful. It's a lovely way.
It just shows you that you can have a different outcome. It's not
exactly
like you would, repeat. You can actually change that. It's not, that's not it for life.
Exactly, yeah. But it can be if I want it to be. That's the other thing.
If you want it to be.
That's what I love, is the fact that actually, because it was, I think I touched on it earlier, I was quite scared of change. I was quite scared of looking deep inside myself, and with help of therapies, I've got lots of therapists around me that helped me. I still see people now. I'm still supported by people, and that will probably always be for me, because I feel that support is necessary. But actually, just to know that I can choose something different, where I didn't know that I could, like you say, I was repeating without even realising it.
I think we all do that. I mean, I don't think that's not unusual, is it?
No,
until you have something like quite a paradigm shift in your life.
Yeah.
Like you just leaving the job, and I did something similar. I just left. I was like, this is just not working for me, and I'm being repeatedly ill. I have to leave this. I don't know what's going to happen now. And it's that paradigm shift all of a sudden sometimes just kind of jumps you onto a different track. So what's tapping? What's that all about? What's that all about?
Well, again, it's energy work. People call it emotional freedom technique. You might have heard of that, but it's tapping in essence. So what you do is you speak out loud. As I say, it's empowering to say words out loud. It's also empowering to move. So combining the two there, which is brilliant. And you're tapping on acupuncture points. Most people do it around their face. You can do it on your hands. You can do it on your body too. Practitioners do it in different ways, but you're just tapping. And actually what you do is you start off talking about what's troubling you, which a lot of people never do. You know about positive affirmations, you go straight to the positive. That doesn't always work because you're missing what can hold you back. So you start off by focusing on, say for instance, if you feel really sad about something, you will say out loud how you feel. So you're tuning into your feelings, but while you're tapping on these acupressure points. And it starts to move your emotions. It starts to get you in flow. It starts to free you up a little bit. Can be quite painful. It can make your sadness. I mean, I've done it before when I've been sobbing my heart out, and it makes me sob even more, but you get through it. So it's a process. So you tap, as I say, focusing on what's the bad bit, if you like. I don't like to say good and bad, but you know what I mean. So you say those words out loud. So you're acknowledging your feelings by saying them out loud. And that's very powerful. That's very important. Then you start to move through and you naturally feel a little bit different because you're tapping on these points and you're actually saying them out loud. You're going through a process. But you also find that the words help because then you start to use a little bit more positive wording. So you can go from somewhere, as I say, the way I've done it, feeling really, really sad about something, and then actually just going, oh, I feel a little bit better now. I'm not so stressed. I'm not so emotional and highly strung. Start to feel a bit of peace and calm. And then you can work through to be a bit more positive. So if it's something, for instance, that you're really scared of, I'm really scared about doing this, I'm really worried about something, you can actually vocalize that with these tapping movements and then move yourself on to going, oh, I might be really scared, but actually now I'm really excited. I'm really happy about something. I feel better. I feel different. And again, it can be done really quickly. And it's something that I teach people to do for themselves because you can do it yourself. It's nice to be taught through things. It's like meditation. A guided meditation is nice. But if you can do it for yourself, so much the better. So I teach people how to do it for themselves to use in their moments when they need it. Because again, it's a powerful tool for people to have.
Yeah, we've done quite a lot of meditation, haven't we? We've done quite a lot of broadcasts about meditation.
We have, yeah.
And we're doing, so Nadine's going to be doing a meditation as part of the closing because it is a full moon. Yeah. Who knew? I obviously booked that. Clearly. I said to Nadine, would you like to do a meditation? She said, well, it is the full moon. I said, of course it is. I had no idea.
I use nature in every shape or form. I do a lot of stuff around the moon. Full moon is brilliant for letting go. New moon is for creating and setting your intentions, and that's beautiful. So yeah, nature is there for us, and I tap into everything that I can. So
so we're going to celebrate on Thursday, and
we are, yeah, and gratitude.
So it's a new moon. No, is it a new moon?
Full moon.
Full moon, so that's
full
letting
moon
go.
Next Thursday. It is letting go, but I think to focus for that, we can use the moon in that way for helping us just release. We've done our job. We can let that go. I think it'd be very important for you, Lesley, to go, yeah, we've done. We can finish this one. And celebrating and gratitude, to tune in with that because, this is what you've done here, Lesley, is brilliant. It's such a wonderful thing you've done for all of us. I'm sure everyone would agree. It's bigger than probably you even imagined it was going to be.
Slightly bigger than what
I thought. It is amazing, and it's a wonderful thing that you've done. So a little bit of recognition, gratitude, and really feeling that, and a little bit of celebration, I think, because it's very important, isn't it?
I'm in awe of it, to be honest with you. It's just kind of gone out of. It's not now in my control. It's all kind of gone out of. It's doing its own thing now, which is amazing.
Yes, isn't it?
Which is amazing.
It's developing
and I'm
beautifully.
Really proud of it. So that's cool.
Good, and I'm glad that you are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
No, I am super proud of it.
Yeah.
Any key words of advice? For anyone out there who's kind of in a bit of a, feeling like things aren't quite going according to plan. Well, lockdown. Easing of lockdown, re-lockdown.
I think lockdown has been such a time for all of us. A time of, someone said it to me as it's like having one of those snow globes and it's all been shaken up.
Yeah.
And we're just going to see how we fall. What I'd like to say, I'm going to be quite cliched and go, there is that saying, it's okay not to be okay. There is that to remember, because it really is. Whatever you're feeling is okay. And also it can change. That's the way that I feel. But for the snow globe analogy, I'd like to say, yes, we can just see how we fall, but we can actually fall where we want to. We can actually make our progress, how we come out of this, and this is what's happening for a lot of us now. We're choosing, aren't we, how we want to move forward, how we want to be. The people that have enjoyed working at home, they don't have to go back to commuting, they don't have to go back to the 9 to 5. If they've enjoyed family time, the feeling of just going, I can say what I want to say, I can ask for what I want to ask. They're all things that I couldn't do before, but I can do now. And we can all do them, just actually look at your life, tune into what you really want. A lot of what I do is tuning in. We've done it with your group, haven't we, Lesley? Tuning into your heart and your soul to look at what you really want and being true to yourself, being authentic and actually going, it is okay to say what you're feeling, to say what you want, and trust again that the universe will provide, because it will. And vocalizing it, I would say, say it out loud. Definitely. I mean, I do, as I say, I do it with the moon, I do it with anything. I'll look up to the sky and I'll do like I've got my hands now, I just go, this is what I want, this is what I wish for, It's asking for what you want and not being scared to, and listening, because actually that's stopping and listening. When the universe provides, if you're too busy, you miss it. You miss the opportunities. So again, that I do a simple meditation for myself as much as anything, where I just repeat the 2 words as I breathe in and breathe out. I say effort and surrender. And just as I'm breathing in, I go effort. And as I'm breathing out, I go surrender. For me, surrender is quite a big word because I'm still not pretty good at it. Good at putting the effort in, but surrendering is that thing I need to remind myself. So that's why I do a meditation on it. Again, it doesn't have to take long, but just a few breaths like that just focuses me. And it just reminds me that, yes, you put the work in. We all do that. We all put some work in. But to stop and get that balance of effort and surrender, because you do need both. Yeah. So just actually remembering that, there's the balance in life all the time. And it is important. And again, that gives me permission then to go, I can have a little break. Woohoo.
Yeah, it's important to be selfish sometimes.
It is. Self-care is big. Again, as you can tell, I wasn't very good at it, but it's something that I have learned to embrace. It is important. Selfish, self-care, however you want to look at it, self-love, self-worth, self-value. It's something that I've learned, and it's something that I love to help other people do. Letting go of guilt, letting go of those feelings that you can't look after yourself and everything. Once we can let those go, we can, like you say, be selfish, and it's a good thing. It's a really good thing.
Because if you can't look after yourself and you don't love yourself, you don't put out the energy where you'll receive that back.
That exactly. And again, I'm quite cliche because I do say to people all the time, I learnt the hard way, so you don't have to. And it's really, I say that, so ask my clients, I say that so often, because I didn't look after myself, because I didn't love myself. I didn't feel I was worth it. So again, and I still have to be reminded, I'm very, very lucky now. My life is, I'm held accountable by my clients, which I love, because they will come to me, and quite often what they come to me with is what I need to be reminded of myself. So again, the universe is providing for me and going, remember this yourself. You need to know this today. So I love that. And I need to practice what I preach. I'm telling people all the time to be calm, take a moment, look after yourself, which keeps me in check. And so I'm very lucky that this is my life now.
Oh, well, let's see what the universe may have sent you in the questions, shall we?
Yay!
This could be interesting. So,
couldn't it?
Annie says, had you sought medical help during your troubled times? Were you offered medication, or did you just work it out for yourself? Really good question.
That is a good question, and I'm glad you asked, actually, because it's not something I've touched on. I was self-medicating drinking.
Yeah.
I would definitely was. I did go to a doctor. One of my first things I did was go to the doctor, the classic, I'm depressed, I can't sleep, I can't do anything. And medication was offered to me. But I was scared. I was really scared of taking things. I did take things. But then I've got a really addictive personality, and I was really very scared. That it didn't seem to, my mind blocked off with alcohol. I seemed to think that was okay, but it wasn't. It was very bad for me. But anything else I was scared of taking. So yes, I was offered medication. I did seek help when I was going through my hormone problems and my infertility. Oh God, the amount of medication, the amount of drugs that I took. But I wanted to, there was always that something in me, and I think it might have been my interest in nutrition. But to go, there's got to be another way. There's got to be an alternative. So to go for things like reflexology, homeopathy, things like that, I was always looking for the alternative. So I'm not sure where that came from, but it definitely did. So I was always seeking. And now I think there's a place for both in people's lives. But what I've learned over the years about taking prescribed medication is that there's always a side effect. And sometimes that can be worse than what you're taking it for. So being aware, and it's education, isn't it, as much as anything. If you are taking a pill for something, just be aware of what else it's going to do to you, and see if there is a way that you can look after yourself with nutrition, with supporting yourself, It's just
but
really
sometimes
looking.
The mainstream medication is right for some people, I think.
Yes, yeah, definitely, and I'm not against it at all. And it's knowing what's right for you, and again, just really actually going, well, is this right for me? I think with a lot of things, it's a bit, and with me, definitely a bit of trial and error. I'll try something, I'll have a little go. That worked, that didn't work, and finding your own way, which can sometimes take quite a long time, but finding what's right for you personally. And again, that's what I try and do with my clients. Go, this is you. This is how it works for you. Let's give it a go. Let's see what we can do. And like you say, medication is the right thing for a lot of people. I'm not against it. I just was very scared of it, to be honest.
Yeah. I think it just depends on your own journey, doesn't it? And for some people, it just depends where you are in that journey. Some people, they might find that the prescribed medication is the right option for them. But just as you're saying, do it consciously. Do it knowingly, do it thoughtfully, so that you know what you're getting yourself into. Think about how long it might take you to get off of it, and what the side effects are. And then if you do that consciously, then you've done it in the right way. I know I am aware that I've had friends who've had to go that route because they weren't in a place where they could access all of the alternatives at the time.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? It's where you're at now, isn't it? And what you need. I mean, say, for instance, if you're not sleeping, to take a sleeping pill for one night might be exactly what you need. But long term, that isn't going to deal with because also, I'm a great issue. That's the thing. I'm a great believer in there's emotions to everything physical. And to look at emotions is, at some point in time, I think we need to do it. I know I needed to at some point because I avoided it for so long. So I hope that's answered your question there, Anna.
Yeah, I think Julia points it out there, if someone's bipolar, then, it can be very dangerous. And so sometimes you need a medical intervention quite quickly while they get the alternative in place to help them. So, very good point, Julia.
No, it is a very good point. And I would never say to anyone, don't
Oh, Nadine has
go to a doctor and don't take, you are advised to do.
Yeah.
But to know that there's a lot... Oh no, that's no good. But to know there's a lot you could do around it, you to support yourself in extra ways. There's a lot that we can do.
Yeah. It's like the jigsaw that we were talking about the art world. There's lots of those, like those meshes, aren't there, in life? And it's just like bringing together the perfect storm for you to make sure that it works for you at that time.
And to really recognise that we're all so different. It's everybody. We need an individual plan, don't we? We deserve that. We're entitled to that.
An individual plan for most things is, I think, what we need. Francis, will you continue to offer Reiki over the phone digitally in the future? I do hope so.
Do you know, it's really interesting because, yes, I will, definitely. Short answer. But what I love is that, as I say, this change has been forced on. So I was seeing clients online before this, but it's grown, obviously, and I'm grateful that we can do it. But I will be doing it more and more because a lot of my clients that have seen me in therapy rooms have turned around to me now and said, I never want to see you again because they're at home. They don't have to find a parking space. They don't have to don't have to go out. They found a lovely place within their own home to be and be happy and be treated, if you like, if you want to look at it that way. So they're getting so many other benefits in that way. I think in the future, a little bit of a mixture of the two will be, again, it's balance, isn't it? But I'm so grateful that we can, you know, do this in the different ways that we can. So I will continue to do it. Through the ether, as I say.
Good. I have to set an alarm clock as well, don't I? Because sometimes I go very, very deep. I wouldn't say asleep, but I go very deep.
It's a different kind, isn't
relaxation.
it? Yeah.
And that's interesting because Jonathan's saying he's had Reiki and he didn't experience any of those things, and what should he expect to experience? And I would say it's quite individual, but
it's very individual. And I think that word "should" is one that, you know, should. It's a difficult one. We're putting a lot of pressure on ourselves, but it's different for different people. Plus, at different times, you know, there are times. I've got to be honest with you, like you say, you know, a lot of people go to a deep place. I do send a lot of people to sleep with what I do. They go to sleep, like you say, we get people to set alarms when they're at home if they need to be up. But everybody's different. So I think, don't think, oh, it wasn't right for me, it didn't work that way, because it's right for you at that time. Whatever happens is right for you, because your body and your mind will be doing what it needs. It will take what it needs. So there's no right or wrong with any of it.
Maybe Jonathan's fearful that the person that he's saying was inexperienced, so maybe they were just training or something. So
it's possible, but I think as well it's a lot to do with you yourself. You know, I've had Reiki from people and it's been different for me at different times. Sometimes I'm just not ready to receive. It's that being open and ready to receive, you know. Sometimes I've just not connected. So sometimes it is a person thing, you know. So different experiences at different times, you know. And just to feel, you know, you might feel cheated. I haven't seen lovely colours and I haven't had this wonderful experience. But know that deep down you're still getting the Reiki. The Reiki is still working at some level. I have
Reiki from two people. So I have Reiki from you and I have Reiki from Nikki Weatherall, as you know. And I have different experiences with both of you. And both of them are incredibly important for different reasons. And that's the way you tune in to the person that's giving you the Reiki.
Definitely.
It definitely comes from me, I think.
I think, and timing is so important, you know, where, like I say, I had a lot of therapies. I was so resistant to most of them, you know, and I could have repeated things over and over again, but it wasn't going to work for me until the time was right for me, until I was ready. So, and again, hindsight can show me that it didn't at the time. You know, I paid for a lot of counselling that was a complete waste of money because I lied. I wasn't ready to tell the truth, you know. So it's very individual. It is, I think there is something in compatibility maybe with who you're working with, how it works, but timing is there as well. So there's a lot of factors to think about there, I think.
Yeah, I think compatibility is quite a big one. That you need to find
Jonathan, I want colours. Okay, Jonathan, we'll make cute colours. We'll get there.
We'll make it happen.
It tunes in with your chakras. That's what we talked about with my website earlier. You know, being in line and in balance with your chakras, maybe a little bit of chakra balancing can help, you know. So again, that's something, just being a bit more in tune. So
I think I have this synesthesia though.
I think
so. I see colour whenever even a memory that's really difficult, and a lot of people see that in black and white. I still see that in colour. I have a lot of I think I have that synesthesia thing where I see everything colourful.
But I've got to be honest, I never used to see colours at all. I never used to see anything. I mean, my first therapist said everything comes from your childhood. That's when, and I said straight away, no, it doesn't, because I can't remember my childhood. But I was blocking it out. You know, I wasn't ready for any of it. So it comes with time, you know.
Jonathan, we'll get you the colours, honey.
We get you colours.
We get you colours. Don't you worry. Yasidi is saying, is what you do similar to kinesiology? I don't know what kinesiology is.
Do you know, I do, because I have a therapist that I go to for that as well, and that is I'm not an expert, so I might describe this wrong, so correct me if needs be. But it's about saying, the way that I was described it, you put your arm out and you press it. When you're telling a lie, you move really easily. When you're telling your truth, when you're speaking your truth, you're solid. And that was my description of it.
I have had one of those.
Yes.
Yeah, she kind of does that, and you're kind of like hitting yourself. Oh, I have had that
again,
once.
it's energy work, isn't it? Again, it's very powerful, because I'm not a I don't know if I can even say it right, kinesiologist. I'm not that, but I am aware of it. And I really feel that when we are authentic, when we've tuned in, we're in line with our true soul purpose, we are being authentic, we function better, we communicate better, we can do things in a much more easy way, we flow better, we're creative, we've got everything moving in the right way. So I'm big on that. I really do feel that what I do with my clients helps in that way, but I'm not doing it in the way of kinesiology. I'm struggling with that word at the moment.
So you get the same kind of outcomes,
but in a way, yeah,
and I've done through a different medium.
Yeah, so I think there are similarities there, and as I say, I'm not going to say. And what I do, I love the fact that I've met so many people over the years, a lot of fellow therapists and everything, and I'm really interested in all these other therapists. If I feel that a client that I'm working with can benefit from something else, then I'll pass them on to people, because that helps. It's all round, isn't it? So sometimes there are, I say, we'll go and see so and so because I think that might help, and it does. So I love that.
Annie's saying, how many years did it take you to find yourself, and how many years have you been yourself?
Oh my God, decades. And I'm still finding myself. I've got to be honest, I'm not done. Still have my moments, and that will be forever. So I really feel, for me, it's lifelong. Going through my story probably described that a little bit. I still have moments when I wobble. I think at the start of lockdown, I went into all my old fears and insecurities came up, and I needed to address them, but I knew how. That's the difference. I knew how, and I wasn't so scared, but they were still there, and they will be again, so yes, I have come a long way, and yes, it's lifetime. I'm 55 now, and it's still going, so I don't feel that I'm done. But then I quite like that. I'm still learning.
That gives hope to everyone, doesn't it?
I think so.
To everyone.
Yeah, and what I love as well is I get clients that come to me sometimes and they go, I've left it too late. Stress and anxiety, which is what I start with people, and that feeling of overwhelm. Sometimes people are living that life and they don't know how to get off. And they go, I think I've left it too late. And nobody has. I've worked with people in their 70s. I think the oldest I've worked with was 78. We can do something to help ourselves wherever we're at. Work with children quite a lot because of my nursery teaching background, and everyone can be helped. It's never too late, which I love.
Yeah. Time's quantum anyway. It's irrelevant.
Yeah,
it's what you make of it. So
it is, and I couldn't have done what I do now when I was younger. Although I can go, I wish I'd started this earlier. I couldn't have done it. It wasn't for me. It wasn't my path. It wasn't the right thing for me.
No, that's effectively what Vincent's saying. That lots of people have suffered with the health issues and overwhelm in their lifetimes, particularly over this last short period of time.
Yeah.
And people like you are going to become increasingly more needed. People like all of us who can tune into that energy and be self-aware. So we need to listen to people like you, so we can all try, go on that journey of finding ourselves, and hopefully then taking on board that we are the sum of the 4 people we spend the most time with. Hopefully share that with the 4 people that we are spending the most time with, and by that natural osmosis, more people will feel calmer and are able to cope with what life, this difficult sometimes life, does throw at us.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? It was said to me a while ago, if we were all selfish, the world would be a brilliant place, and that made me think. But if we all look after ourselves and do it properly, there's no need for anything else. And what a lovely world that would be, but actually it isn't. So yes, I want to share what I've learned. I want to help people, and maybe there isn't a need, but if people come and ask me, then I want to help them. And it goes back to what we said earlier, my nurturing, my caring, my wanting to help is deep within me. And I'm grateful for that. I'm glad that that's what I feel like. Having said that, I don't force it on everyone. I used to a little bit, but I don't now. People come to me, which is nice.
I used to NLP everyone, but now I try not to.
But we want to help, don't we? That's where it's coming from. Yeah. So I think you're right. But I do feel it would be a lovely, lovely world if we actually have learned. And this is why I call what I do Calmer Self, because I want to teach people how to do it for themselves. Yes. And that's the key. And if I had my way, it'd be on the curriculum. It'd be taught from day one in schools, because they are life skills that we're talking about. It's learning how to cope with everyday life.
Yes, Julia's saying enlightened self-interest, which is absolutely.
I love
we're
that,
all
Julia. Yes,
aspiring
exactly. Yeah.
for is enlightened self-interest, but
It's
not
perfect.
to the exclusion of others, to the inclusion of others.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And getting,
self-actualization.
and then getting
So
comfortable with that word, isn't it? I am selfish. Yeah, great. It's a good thing.
selfish,
Yeah.
so I can care for everyone because
Yeah.
I am caring for myself.
Exactly. Look after number one first. They say, don't they, that
That's the
put the
masks.
put the
Yeah.
oxygen mask on yourself first, because you got to look after. Can't pour from an empty cup, as I say. I'm full of
No,
cliches,
I think there's lots of those
Yeah.
sayings, aren't there? So Vincent's saying, would you say that a lot of stress can be caused by being in the wrong job or out of alignment with where you're meant to be?
My story, yeah, all over. Definitely. And going, like I say, being easily, like I was easily led, just someone flatters me, I go, oh yeah, I'll do it. I still am like that. If someone says something, someone wants me to do something, I desperately want to help. That's not being in line with what's good for me, what's right for me. So you're absolutely right. I really do feel that a lot of stress is caused, and it definitely was for me, by doing things, being misguided, but actually going, oh, I'll do that because someone's asked me to, instead of going, do I really want to do it? So now, not always, but now I go, give myself a moment, have a little tune in. Is this good for me? Is this what I want to do? Is this following my true soul purpose, my path? And then if it doesn't feel right because I've listened to myself, which is, there's a skill, then saying no. And again, that's a skill, isn't it? How to say no, how to have your boundaries, how to be comfortable going, no, thank you, because that is, and again, that took me a long time to learn. Don't always get it right, but that's something I try to do now for me, because there are a lot of things I don't want to do. And I've got a right to say I don't want to do them, so.
Yeah, it's so difficult, isn't it? Because
it is,
as you say, it's that flattery thing. Just because you're good at something doesn't mean you have to do it.
Yeah.
You have to listen to yourself.
Yeah.
You have to be in a line. I get it. You can imagine every single day I'll get an email or someone will call me and say, "Can you do this? I'd like you to do that. I've been told that you're the person I should speak to," and I have to now be really careful.
Yeah,
really considerate about what I say yes to.
Yeah,
I ask a lot of questions, Nadine.
That is the thing, isn't it? And being true to yourself, it doesn't come easy. It is a skill to learn. But I think you're right. Who was it? So was it Vincent? Did you say who said that?
Yeah.
The stress can come just from that decision-making process. So once I know I'm going to feel stress until I make up my mind. Whatever I decide, it doesn't matter. I need to make a decision. So that going through, and like leaving my teaching profession, leaving that job, while I was making my mind up, oh my gosh, how stressed was I? It was really a terrible time. Once I'd made my mind up, I didn't know if I'd made the right or wrong decision, but once I'd made a decision, the stress had lifted. Not all of it, but a lot of it done. So actually just the decision-making process, being a little bit dithering, that is stressful in itself. So making decisions, when you're choosing what path to take, right or wrong, better to choose something than actually stand in that place of stress, take one step forward, even if you can correct, but you need to move forward. You need to go. And this is what being stuck is, isn't it? Being stuck, your energy flow and everything. And that is very, very stressful. So definitely.
Louise is saying, how many of your clients have hobbies? Oh, I'm intrigued by that.
That's a lovely one, because, I never had hobbies. I was too busy working. And it's an interesting question. And I'd like to know a bit more why you're asking that, because it's a really good question. Yes, maybe they don't to start with, but they get them because it's interests, isn't it? And actually finding something else to do rather than just keep working, rather than keep focused. Like we talked about mindfulness and, drawing and doing something for you, something that you just enjoy. Hobbies, that's really interesting, actually, because as I say, I never had I remember having a boyfriend once who said, you need a hobby. I go, I'm not too busy for a hobby. But, I've obviously remembered that because he thought I needed a hobby. He thought I needed to go fishing. That wasn't it. But he was right. Although I argued with him and I didn't like being told, he was absolutely, I needed a hobby. But I wasn't ready to hear that. It was a long time ago. So yes.
Louise is saying many of us find our happy place, our happy space in our hobbies, drawings, crafts, etc. Yeah. I definitely agree. I once I realised I needed to put in time for me, and for me, my hobbies are my friends.
Yeah, socialising.
So it's just a different type of hobby. My hobby is spending time with my friends and with my dog, and with my husband.
Yeah.
You know, I suppose I'm quite a social creature, so
yeah,
it's just going out and
getting the energy of the right people around you. You know, that's so beneficial, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's interesting because you know that saying about, you know, find. Oh God, I'm not very good at some sayings. Do what you love for a living, and you never have to work again in your life.
Yeah.
Have you heard that?
Done that. That's what I'm doing.
I've got I'm not so sure. I have a little bit of conflict with that because, say, for instance, cooking. You know, I did it. I loved it. It was my job. Now, it's my hobby. I do it for joy. I do it because I want to. When it was my job, there was a different feeling around it. So it's an interesting one to think about, isn't it? So hobbies, choosing what you want to do. And I've got to be honest, I still find it quite difficult. Choosing something to do just for the sake of doing it because I enjoy it, I still have a little bit of a struggle with. Because again, it's that. Yeah, but this is the thing. I walk, I enjoy it. And it's, again, one of the therapists that I see who helps me, which is lovely. She reminded me recently, you know, when you are walking the dogs, you're not just walking the dogs, you're doing it because it's good for you too, and you're enjoying it and just tuning in. So when I'm down at the beach, when I'm looking at the sea, I just take a moment to go, I'm loving this. This is really doing me good. It's not just about doing a job, doing the dogs, doing what I need to do. But it's mindset, isn't it? It's how I feel when I'm doing it. So a hobby, whatever you're doing, it's actually just recognizing that you're doing it because you want to, you know, and remembering that.
Sophie's just saying here, you can lose the love when you do it all the time. Of course you can.
Yeah.
So, Lesley, you said right at the beginning, it's about balance.
Exactly. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right.
It's like a treat. When I go
for
walk, it's a treat.
So there is that little bit of me going, I don't know if do what you love is the key, because then you might not love it anymore. I'm not sure, you know. So it's a little bit.
You do it all the time.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
So Annie said, but I think Trump is selfish, and I don't think he's doing him or the world any good. I think Trump is arrogant. We're not going to get into this, Annie, because this is not the place.
I wouldn't know actually how to answer that, but I think that's a very valid point. Let's think about that.
There's a different. That's a different interpretation of the word selfish.
Yeah.
And
it's narcissistic. Another word I can't say. Is it? Are we touching on that? Maybe I'm not sure.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. Yeah.
And we're not really versed in that. No. So we're not going to go there, love. But
no.
I think you make a fair point.
It is a very fair point.
Yes, fair point, well made. Thank you so much.
Thank you everyone for listening. Those wonderful questions, and thank you, Lesley. As I say, for doing
so
such
much
a wonderful
interaction
thing
with everybody. It's been
loved
really
it. I've really
dynamic.
loved it. I knew I would. So.
Yeah, it's been really dynamic session, and you've been in a halo all the time. Because you've got the light behind you, so you've been in a halo the entire.
It's my natural halo.
You are godly, Nadine Searle. And if anyone wants to receive some of your godliness, then they know where to contact you. All the details are in the ART360 magazine.
Yeah, do get in touch with me, because I'm happy just to chat through. If you've got any problems or anything, I'm happy just to talk you through something. Quite often I can give you a coping strategy instantly. So do connect with me, do ask me things. Don't be frightened to ask me anything. So.
And
thank you so much.
Nadine will be here on Thursday, and she is a Pure ambassador, so anyone in the Pure members can contact her and ask her questions as well. That's all good. And we will see you all tomorrow when we have Hannah, Be More Hannah, of Be More Hannah. Hannah, you need your own TV programme, I think, called Be More Hannah. And also we've got Felicity Flutter as well tomorrow, because obviously that all kind of crashed and burned last weekend because of the iPad. We now know don't use an iPad. But Louisa has been a delight and gone and sorted that out for Felicity. So we'll have Felicity as well tomorrow. So exciting. And then on Tuesday we've got David Winston. And on Wednesday, which is the final day of the interview, sad, is going to be Maria Turner and Jeremy Bear. So 3 more days.
So exciting.
So 3 more days of interviews, and then we've got our lovely celebration. Yeah. So Nadine has suggested champagne. I think we might do that.
Celebrate. We've got to celebrate.
So bring your glasses, everyone, on Thursday, because I think we'll be doing a bit of celebrating.
Lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow. Bye for
now.